guys loved the video where I talked about the worst things that record stores do. If you haven't seen that, click above. But now, let's talk about the worst things that record labels do. They're not off the hook. I'm going to talk about my least favorite things from my entire history of collecting records that irk me and turn me off from buying from a label, and I hope that you leave a comment with some of the things that you don't like. Because maybe, just maybe, they'll learn from their mistakes. If you haven't already, it'd be awesome if you'd like this video, hit the red subscribe button, and turn your bell notifications on so you don't miss out on any weekly videos I put out. Number 1, overcharging for records. I just don't understand how some labels feel like they have carte blanche to put a ridiculous price on a record. I'm not even talking about the hip-hop labels that are putting out releases for 50 to 100 bucks a pop. That's an entirely different video, and one I plan on doing. But that being said, I'm just talking about labels that are skimming off the top and adding ridiculous overcharges to standard records. In this day and age, a single LP should be between $20 and $25. A double between $25 and $35, and honestly, a lot of that depends on the packaging, the variant, the bonuses, whatever it may be, maybe even the size of the band in terms of popularity. When I'm seeing labels put out a single LP for $29.99 on black vinyl, I'm thinking to myself, why? I know what this costs. Having a record label, I know the pricing, and you are making a crazy profit for no reason. And by that I mean you're not making a profit because a lot of people are not going to buy it because those prices are crazy. The second thing that irks me is when they do not reveal the pressing source of a record. I'm sure you've seen a ton of different buzzwords when it comes to vinyl. Mastered for vinyl, on vinyl for the first time, etc., etc. Audiophile pressing is the worst one because that's the most nebulous term that means absolutely nothing. A record needs to say if it's analog or digital. I think that informs a lot of buyers, especially people that care about the audio quality and don't just want big CD on their shelf. When I look for a record that I really care about the audio quality, I look for who mastered it, because that's obviously very important, and there are some big names that you can look up, Bernie Grundman, Kevin Gray, etc., that usually do an excellent job. If it says AAA, which is an all-analog transfer, you can be sure that sounds great. Also, when it says from the original tapes, is usually a good sign as well. So many labels skirt around that it's a digital master, or even worse, a direct digital master, which is just straight from the CD, and it just bothers me as someone who sometimes pays a premium for a record that doesn't sound that great. Be honest with the source. And next up we have a little story time. I hate it when labels and artists sign a signed record on the inner sleeve. And I'm not going to blame the artist for this. I'm going to say this is a collaboration between the label and the artist to decide this, because both of them at any point could be like, maybe this is a bad idea, and sometimes they just don't. Amon Tobin is one of my favorite electronic music producers. I have just about everything he's ever put out on vinyl. Well, his latest record, Long Stories, is coming out. I was super excited because on Bandcamp they had a signed version for $50. Bare bone sleeve, black vinyl, signed version. I was like, you know what? I think the signature would look really great on this cover. The reason people get signed vinyl is because they want to display the jacket, or they want to pull it out of their shelf and remember, oh, right, I had this signed. Either way, I thought I was getting a signed record. Well, what I got was a little scribble on the inner sleeve, and that's it. First of all, who's displaying an inner sleeve? Literally nobody. And just before it shipped, they put a video up of Amon Tobin signing the inner sleeve and also doing little doodles on the inner label, which I thought was pretty cool. My record, no label doodles. I don't know where mine were, but I basically paid a massive premium for a little doodle on a sleeve. That wasn't okay. So I emailed the label and I said, hey guys, this wasn't exactly what was advertised. If it's okay, I would love to return this because I thought I would be getting a signed jacket. Instead of responding politely as the label should, they tried to put me on blast on Twitter by commenting on the video of him signing records and saying, everyone's super happy except for too many records. I've never seen a label act so unprofessionally. I kept the record out of principle, but this guy lost a customer for life. That's a long-winded way of saying, if you're gonna have a signed record, don't use AutoPen, The Weeknd, and just make sure you're actually signing it on the cover. I just watched Ozzy Osbourne sign 2,000 records at Amoeba, and he's like 900 years old. You can handle it. Next up, I hate when labels don't have media mail as an offering. Sometimes I'll go to buy a record and I'll go to check out, and the only option will be priority, which is like $10 to $15. We all know media mail costs $3 to $4 to ship. Labels can do it too, and I just feel like it's for some reason them skimming off the top again. I paid the $12 for priority mail for a record once, it came in, and the label said media mail. It said $3. But that being said, how many people are going through this process and not realizing if labels are doing that? It's shady, it's readily available. If you're a US label and you use USPS, There's no reason you shouldn't offer media mail. It's just the cheapest way to get things done. Next up is improperly packing records. I have an entire video in case you're a new label and you want to figure out how to pack your records you're sending to people. And in that video, I explain how every record needs to be in a vinyl mailer, completely secured, whether it's with bubble wrap or a 12-inch insert or anything you can get creative with so that you shake it and it doesn't move. So many times I receive records and mailers that have just been bouncing around like crazy, which causes creases, seam splits, all kinds of garbage things that could be prevented if you just pack it properly. It happens enough that I think it's worth mentioning. And the last two are in a similar vein, and this applies more to collectors than anyone else, so let me preface with this. I'm under the impression that everybody should be able to buy a record if they want to get it. If a label puts out an album and it has a wide release, hopefully everyone can get a chance. But that's not always the case when a label markets a record as a limited edition or limited to X or collectible. If you're going to start dipping your toe into that level of marketing, you need to respect the people that are interested in that, which are the collectors. The first thing I hate is when a label will promise a certain pressing amount and then after it sells out, extend it. I can't tell you how many times I purchased a record out of 300 and it sells out in a day and the label says, "Wow, we can't believe how quick you bought up our limited record. Because there was so much demand, we decided to add another 700 to the pressing." Well, yeah, cool. Now more people can get it, but you originally marketed this as a limited edition, short-run thing. Maybe I would have held off if I knew there was more time to buy it. Maybe I wouldn't have justified the price that you had it at if it was at such a high amount pressed. There are so many factors that go into it for collectors or non-collectors alike, and I get really annoyed when labels don't respect people that are buying their records. This happens a lot, and if you've ever seen this happen, make sure you leave a comment with the situation. And the one that follows that is when a label puts out a variant of a record, limited, it sells out, you bought it, you're excited, and then days or weeks later, they put out an even cooler, more limited variant than the first one. If you're doing these limited releases, do you not feel like it's a slap in the face to the collectors who bought the first one? Again, I want to reiterate, there's a difference between wide run records that everyone has a chance of grabbing and labels that are purposely using panic marketing with limited collector's editions that are going to sell out to push product, and then you release an even cooler version, objectively cooler right after. That's just not cool, and when labels do this, they really lose me as a customer. So for me, those are the worst things that record labels do. I would love to hear your comments with things that piss you off when it comes to record labels. And I will say this, there are a lot of labels absolutely crushing it, and I'll probably do a video at some point of my favorite record labels because there are so many that deserve a spotlight. Let's chat in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching this video. More coming soon. Take it easy.